chenille flowers. She could buy them and then bouquets of flowers out of chenille.
13-year-old girl sees a spread. There's another one. Decides she wants to make one. It was about 40 feet. Probably made it not old. So she couldn't figure out how to make it, but she made it up on her own. She took a long needle with a flat face and made a nice collar because she was putting 75 cotton dollars, 50 arms, and all this hard to make stitch go through. So what she did, she made a long stitch, then a short stitch. Long stitch, then short. Just like regular sewing. Came back through, cut the long stitch in half so that would fluff up. And all she did to finish it, hold those knot is with boil the fabric. Pre-shrunk, it wasn't pre-shrunk fabric, I didn't have that back then, and it holds it in. So if you looked at that first spread down there, looked at the back of it, all you're gonna see is tiny things. That's not knots. That's just, feel free to pass that around. That's just where the fabric shrunk up and is holding the yarn in. And that thing's over 50 years old, I'm sure. And until the kid lays on it and pulls them out, they're not coming out. They did it. Anyway, everybody loved the spread she made, wanted to make one, or no, I'm sorry. They wanted to have one. And she goes, you know, I'm never gonna be able to make all those spreads. Anybody who wants to make a spread like that, I'll teach them how. And they can sell them themselves. So for 30 years, that worked. And they did get business-like, and people weren't sharing as great sometimes. One lady started out being white yarn, white fabric. She found some colored yarn, but she had it sent to her cousin and reboxed because when it got here to the train station, everybody'd see where it came from and know where to go get it, and she wanted it to be just hers for a while, you know. So they were doing that kind of stuff. But about in the 1930s, the Fair Wage Act came out. And they had to quit paying people just 10 cents a spread to make them. They had to pay them more like, 10 cents an hour, you know, something. But the men were noticing their wives, this didn't look like just a little cottage industry anymore. The wives are making some money at this. So they decided maybe they could help them out, speed it up a little. So they took and modified a single sewing machine. And really the modification was they put a cutter that came in and cut after each stitch. So if you look at this is a stitch, the tufting stitch made from a machine. So it's really just making that like that. So that sped it up twice as fast because you were having to stitch it, then cut it. So that's twice as fast, right? So then they kept innovating to do things because the money is made by the more chenille you get on the top of the thing, just like carpet. The more yarn you got on top, surface, the more it's worth. So somebody came up with the idea of doing two needles side by side. Well, you can make those patterns because ladies are sitting in a machine and doing this. They know this pattern so well, and all the iterations of it, you see the curly cues that go down the side and things like that, they could do just about half it. And the peacock pattern, this was the roaring 20s, peacocks were a big deal then, so no wonder somebody came up with doing that. It ended up being 12-to-1, the best-selling design. So every company had their own peacock pattern, right? So that kind of, everybody wonders why peacocks. That was kind of the signature of the industry. And chenille just means, it's a French word that means fuzzy caterpillar. So we took
what?
Fuzzy caterpillar.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
We took the word because it described it and called this chenille. So there are a lot of products called chenille. This was just a name we put on this, okay? And then tufting, I don't know where that came from. I couldn't think of it. But, so they're making these machines. They're starting to make places where they got long tables and meals, you know, the ladies sitting there. So the peacock, they never got it, the machine, to where it could do that design. Even if you had something else going on, the peacock design would be put on there and somebody had to hand run it through a sewing machine. Or they had the single tufting guns eventually, and you could stand up to a frame and do that. But the next thing that happened was people kind of quit liking them. They went out of favor. So we're trying to come up with, we got this machinery, we got all these people around here that dye stuff and back stuff, and do all kinds of stuff, you know. So they came up, well, three things happened that made the carpet possible. First, nylon yarn was invented. And nylon yarn is very even and consistent, and cotton is not. And cotton's hard to work with. So if you were gonna decide you wanted to do enough needles to do something 12 foot wide and you're doing cotton yarn, it's gonna mess up. And you know, if out in the middle of the piece of carpet you've got a mess up, you really got some lost carpet there. So that, and then they started getting latex out of India and jute. Well, if you look at this tufting carpet stitch is the same stitch that is in the machine-made ones. So all they did, if you took one of those things and added a layer of latex and another backing on there, that'd be carpet. So the yarn was resilient enough to go up and down, because they made a few rugs out of cotton, boy, that don't work very well. It gets real dirty real fast, and the cotton just wears off. It's too soft. So this is more resilient, so you mash it down and it comes back up. But basically that's the way they became, from the chenille thing, got developed into carpet. And the method of making carpet by tufting it is what's different about it. Because woven carpet, or woven anything, have been around forever. But tufting to make carpet, it's cheaper, it's faster. It really had a place back then.
Yeah.
And the good thing now is you could tuft wool if you didn't want to be all plastic. So, but that's our story, and why everybody's going, we invented it, we're going to the world. Not the thing that tufting carpet. So they are now making machines still to do different things. Like this particular machine, it makes low loop and high loop. Then they tip shear it.